You have exactly 5 seconds to tell me why Tennessee's defensive backs will be stellar on Saturday.
How about they won't be?
Okay, that does it. Good to have you on, Caleb. So I don't see stellar out of this group. I I think the best that you're probably hoping for is what B minus, but it's ultimately, and Caleb wrote about this. I think it's going to be on Tennessee's defensive front to bring some pressure and be able to offset a secondary that was woeful to begin and has lost a couple of players now in Burrell and McCullough.
Yeah, it's in trouble now. I've talked about this in the past, but Warren Burrell and Jalen McCullough are not. They're not going to win any All-American awards, but they were both, I would say, just relatively mediocre as the top cornerback and the strong safety, but mediocre is better than what it could be. I mean, I think a lot of people forget where Tennessee is right now. This was right after they beat Florida about 3 weeks ago. I listened to you with John Adams on, and John Adams was actually very much defending them even after that collapse. And what did people expect out of Tennessee this year? They still have massive deficiencies, which is a testament to Josh Heupel for them still being 5-0, and I think a testament to Tim Banks. And I've been driving this train for a while. I think Tim Banks is one of the most underrated defensive coordinators in football.
Agreed.
Because we talk all the time about defensive coordinators never work out as head coaches. Well, maybe because defensive coordinators who get hired on their resume are getting hired because they, on average in a year, held teams to this few points. But that's not the best way to measure defenses right now. Tim Banks is working in a system that's all offense, all focused on offense and tempo. And then on top of that, there's some massive deficiencies, mostly in the secondary, not to mention the fact that the linebackers are really, really bad in coverage, which I keep talking about. And so I don't know. I think Tennessee's secondary went from having a couple of being below average with some mediocre players to below average with players who are worse than those mediocre players back there. So
The X factor would be D Williams, but
right.
that's we don't know. That's the unknown. So we'll see what he's able to do. By the way, John's appearance on our YouTube channel is brought to you by Big Orange Phillies. Big Orange Phillies, great place in North Knoxville to hang out and have some just fantastic food, family friendly environment, and you'll love it there, whether you're in Maynardville, North Knoxville, Powell, wherever the case may be. So I want Amanda to jump in there, but John's appearance also brought to you by our friends at Vols Automotive Group there on Callahan Drive. Vols Automotive Group, it's about integrity. They want, they need, they appreciate your business. And Amanda, I had heard that John Adams started hitting the booze. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Hitting the booze.
Yeah, just to the little Jack Daniels before he does our show. I don't know if that's the case, but
That's terrible. No, he doesn't. He's like the most straight-laced guy I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't hit the Jack Daniels.
If you guys know the history of Elvis, sometimes inebriation makes you a better performer.
that is, yeah, that's not in our profession though. But I will say that there were days where a beer or two would make the writing go a little freer after a long day of covering practice. But they're a lot like throwing darts at Big Orange Phillies. You have that 2 to 4 beer area where you're maybe more creative, and then the precipice, it just drops off, and then you're no. Yep. All right, so Amanda, what do you got for Caleb?
So Caleb, I'm going to get to today's tough question as well, and I'll ask you before I ask the entire audience. Who do you think is the most important player going into Saturday's game for Tennessee?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, let's all go. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's all jump in on that on the message board. Caleb, you answer that. I have a vote, and then is that going to be today's tough question?
That is.
I love it. All right, Caleb, you start.
Ooh, I kind of need a second. Yeah, I kind of got caught off guard with this, so I kind of need a second to think about it. But
Caleb, we talked about it at the 5 a.m. production meeting. You were there. We met in Raleigh, I believe it was. So you have no excuses.
It's a rough drive.
I got it.
Caleb's got it.
I'm there. It's a tie, and it depends on who's starting. But given the fact that they were saying he's going to be back out there on Saturday. If he's starting, I'm going to say Gerald Mincy. He's got the toughest job because Will Anderson is coming from around that side. So I think that if Hendon Hooker is going to be Hendon Hooker, someone's going to have to do something on Will Anderson, and that's probably going to be Gerald Mincy.
I'm going to actually say D. Williams.
Wow.
And here's why. I'm not saying that it'll turn out that way, but there's a difference between predicting the MIP, as I like to call it, the most important player, and the most valuable player at the end of the game. So if he's able to step up and have a significant impact, then Tennessee's secondary goes from below average to maybe average. So I'm picking a guy that I think will come out of left field. So I'll pick D. Williams, or I guess I could. Who was the defensive back that pardon me, spoke to the media that you wrote about?
Christian Charles.
I guess it could be Christian Charles. Can I on mine, Amanda? Can I go D. Williams / Christian Charles?
Those are two players.
Yeah, but I mean a defensive back to be named later. I mean, if somebody can step up and have a big game, then I think that changes Tennessee's chances to win. What about you, Amanda? And anybody who wants to get on the message board, who is Tennessee's most important player against Alabama? Is Gerald Mincy going to play, Sam? They said yesterday that he would play, yes. So, Amanda, what about you? Do you have a thought on this?
So I'm going to pick out somebody who was really good against LSU, who I said would be the player to watch against LSU. And I'm going to toot my own horn because I often do that when I'm right, especially the fact that Tennessee would be the hardest game that Alabama is going to have to face this season. I was right about that, and they'll upset Georgia, and I'm going to be right about that. Anywho, continuing on, Jalen Hyatt, I think, is going to be the most important player because Cedric Tillman is going to be, if he starts, if he gets the go-ahead, he's going to be covered by, somebody, one of Alabama's backs. I mean, they're going to be focused on Cedric Tillman because they know what he can do. Also focused on Brew McCoy because they also know what he can do. Jalen Hyatt, again, is that sneaky little guy that comes in there and grabs the ball and is gone before you even know he's gone. So I think if Tennessee's offense wants to succeed against Alabama, and I know people are like, Alabama's defense isn't that great. They're actually pretty good. If they want to succeed against this Alabama defense, Jalen Hyatt's going to have to be the player he was against LSU.
Okay. I'm going to give you an out like I'm giving me an out. Okay. So I'm going to have two defensive backs on my list, on my entry. And then you can have Brew McCoy / Jalen Hyatt on the same entry.
I'm just going Jalen Hyatt. I don't need Brew McCoy.
That's the way to go, isn't it, Caleb? So we're talking about help me.
Well, I would agree with Amanda in the sense of if you're going with Jalen Hyatt, the way Jalen Hyatt is going to beat you is not the way Brew McCoy is going to beat you. Brew McCoy is very Cedric Tillman-like, which is, and it's a little bit different where this is why Tennessee needs Cedric Tillman back, is that your favorite thing about Cedric Tillman is the ball's going to him. The defense knows the ball is going to him. And the question is, what are you going to do to stop it? Jalen Hyatt, Amanda's right, is more, he's sneaky. You kind of sneak him out into like that touchdown pass, that 45-yard touchdown pass on Saturday. That's one of the best play calls I think I've ever seen a coach make. If you guys saw, he snuck Hyatt behind the wideouts and then had him running on the outside down the sideline. I will say, Amanda, I don't know if Josh Heupel pulls that off this week, not just because he's going against Nick Saban, but because he had 2 weeks to draw up that play. He only has one for Alabama. So
I think you showed that play, though, to scare the safety. It's kind of a modified wheel route. I'm a big fan of throw everything out there and make them prepare with everything as opposed to hold stuff back. That's me. I remember back in the days that Tennessee would hold stuff back before they play Florida, and I was like, Sam says Hendon Hooker. Sam, I'm going to say that Hendon Hooker's a known commodity.
It's the easy out, Sam. It's the easy out.
Don't call Sam out. Brittany says Byron Young. I want Byron Young on there.
All right, so we're doing that, and I'm not giving you two. You get D. Williams, and that's all you get.
No, then I'm going to change it to Christian Charles.
Okay.
So who's the most important player? for Tennessee this weekend. We have Christian Charles, Byron Young. And again, we're taking into account that some of these are known commodities. Okay. So Hendon Hooker's a known commodity. He's not going to go out there and just wet the bed.
Do you want me to just say unknown then?
I just say of this list, who's the most important or important?
Okay.
So,
and I want to point out, don't sleep on Byron Young. Alabama did give up 4 sacks last week. So if Noro starts, if Bryce Young is hurt, then that might be something to pay attention to.
That's good stuff. All right. So who's our fourth?
So it's Christian Charles, Gerald Mincy, Jalen Hyatt, and Byron Young.
Okay.
And maybe in parentheses, excluding Hendon Hooker because we know Hendon Hooker.
Yeah. And then we had Patricia said Jabari Small.
Ooh, Patricia just throwing heat, Patricia.
Yeah, I'll put Jabari on there because let's face it, if he has 160 yards, it means the offense is balanced and pretty impossible to stop. So
that would be 5.
Oh, how many do we have?
We have 4. Christian Charles, Gerald Mincy, Jalen Hyatt, Byron Young.
Well, see, I'm going to take Mincy off because
okay.
I think they'd be okay with Jeremiah Crawford.
Well, I was kind of trying to pull a U, though. I was like Gerald Mincy or Jeremiah Crawford, whoever is lining up at left tackle on Saturday.
Well, both of you all ripped that idea. I mean,
yeah, no, I didn't rip the idea. No, that's just Amanda.
That was me. I did rip that. I ripped it. Yep.
I was trying to get several players on there, and
I saw that.
So at the end of the day, we're going with Christian Charles. We're going with Jalen Hyatt. We're going with Jabari Small and Byron Young. Of this list, who is the most important player? So go ahead and send that out, and we'll get your votes and get your thoughts. Be sure and like, subscribe, and share. We greatly appreciate that. And always,